good morning, depending on where you are. Hello, everybody. My name is Ashley Elzinga. I am the Director of Sustainability and Outreach for the Food Service Packaging Institute. I want to welcome you to our foam recycling webinar. So we have a packed agenda today. I'll just give a quick introduction on FPI, who we are and what we do. Then I'll turn it over to Matt Todd from MRFs, talk about foam recycling and the process in general. And then we'll hear from Martin and Nick from Mecklenburg County about their program that they have implemented. And then we'll turn it over to Scott from Tiny House. They are a nonprofit that also recycles foam. And then we'll have Lou from Foam Cycle talking about the equipment and the densification process. And then we'll end it out with Matt again to talk about how you can get some grant money from us. Just a quick overview of FPI. We were established in 1933. We are the only trade association in North America solely focused on food service packaging products. Our members are the converters, which are the manufacturers of those materials, the raw material suppliers, and then also the machinery suppliers. So we have about 90% of the industry in North America under our umbrella. And then we also work with food service distributors and operators, which would be the restaurants. Food service packaging is anything that you would be prepared on site, packaged up, and then sent over a counter. So that would be coffee, that would be bakery in your grocery. This could be, any sort of restaurant. It could be a cafeteria, any sort of food service operations that uses these types of package. So specifically, we're able to categorize it into a few simpler categories, which is cups, containers, boxes, and bags. FPI, our members came to us probably over a decade ago now, saying like, hey, we really understand, like, we want to be sustainable, we want to be circular, we need to get our packages to either be composted or recycled. So we created these special interest recovery groups. So we started with the Paper Recovery Alliance and the Plastics Recovery Groups, which focus on paper and plastics food service packaging. And then a subset of that is the Paper Cup Alliance, which focuses on specifically recycling paper cups, hot and cold paper cups. And then what we're going to be talking about today is the Foam Recycling Coalition, and that is specifically focused on polystyrene foam. These are our members of the Foam Recycling Coalition. I'm sure you guys are familiar with some of those names on the page, but these are our members, and these are the ones who give us the funds so that we can make this program successful. And then just a quick overview of our approach. We're always trying to increase the recovery of food service packaging. Again, I mentioned either through recycling and composting. For foam recycling, it is, recycling. So, we started with our foundational work to resolve end market barriers. So we were asking questions like, what about food contamination? How much is out there in the market? What can I do with it? Dispel some misconceptions and myths out there about like a food residue would be one of them, is not quite as dirty as you would think it would be for food service packaging products in general. And then of course the member support that you saw on the last slide. And that whole goal is to help increase access for residents to recycle food service packaging. So, we add community access, and then we track that access. We communicate that access, like a little bit kind of what we're doing today. And then we encourage spontaneous uptake. And then that's just a feedback loop that is really great, and it kind of snowballs. And then our overall goal, as I mentioned many times, is to increase the recovery of food service packaging. And then just our impact over the years since the Foam Recycling Coalition has started in 2015. As of February of 2024, we've given out 34 grants since 2015. That equates to about $1.5 million, and about just shy of 15 million residents have gained access to foam recycling because of our program here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Todd, who is a senior consultant with RRS and has over 27 years of waste and recycling experience, derived directly from public sector service and private sector business and consulting. Matt's efforts with the FPI Community Partnership Program include engaging and facilitating efforts between communities, MRFs, and end markets to increase and improve the recycling of food service packaging. So take it away, Matt.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. Yeah, so you guys got the rundown on FPI, so the organization and why they're involved in this recovery work. I'm going to focus a little bit on polystyrene just to sort of define the stream, and then we've got a lot of good folks to speak to more of the operational side of things. But initially, we're looking at what we call foam polystyrene, and we call it foam polystyrene because it's sort of its cousin is rigid polystyrene. So there are, it's the same resin, it's just in a different form. So we've got rigid polystyrene and foam polystyrene. So the focus on the foam side is we're looking at food service items, which you're familiar with, the foam cup, the clamshells, those types of things. Items we call food products, which are your sort of egg carton, meat trays, those kind of things. And then transport packaging, which is, comes with your electronics and things like that, appliances to protect them in transport. And so when we're looking at, what's in the universe of what we're trying to collect, these are the items. Now, there's other types of foams that, just like any other resin, you want to keep separate. So the urethanes, the foam polyethylenes, there's other types, which, aren't, you can collect that and recycle it, but it's not part of, you want to keep the foam polystyrene as a separate material. And the guys that you hear from later can talk to their experience around that as well. So I know a lot of recyclers on the call, they're familiar with how plastics get recycled, and it's not a mystery with foam. Foam is very similar. It's just a little bit different form than others, and we know that some of the downsides to foam polystyrene is its weight. So that's why a lot of our focus is on getting it densified, because the process for getting it recycled is just the same as other resins, whether you're looking at PET, polypropylene, whatever it is. You basically need to wash it, you need to grind it, you need to remelt it, and then repelletize it, and then you can take that pellet and turn it into new product. So it runs the same pathway as other plastic resins. There's just that initial step to help with the transport and to make it more economically feasible to get it to market, where the densification step needs to happen. Now, there are some recycling challenges. I mentioned as we're talking about food service packaging just generally, it's just like any other plastic. You're not going to recycle something that's super dirty, so you want to rinse it out, especially the clamshells and the cups. Just make sure they're not full of liquid, make sure they're not covered in food waste. And that's why we're focused on the residential stream, because you might have the ability to do that at your home, and then get it to the right place for recycling. And then on the densification side, the focus is really making weight in the truck, so it's efficient to transport that material, whether it's to a reclaimer, somebody that's doing the downstream recycling of that foam. So on the website, our recyclefoam.org website, we've got links to different information around the marketplace for foam. One is the APR bale specs for foam. So whether you're densifying or foam, or you're looking at sort of solid polystyrene, rigid polystyrene, there's bale specs for that. So if you want to follow that, you can. A lot of times you're the marketplace is between you and your market, so that's probably who you want to talk to first. But if you want to just review what those bale specs might look like, you can access that from the website. We also have marketplace opportunities, so we tie into the Home for Foam website, so you can find a polystyrene buyer. Typically, these are folks that would be buying the densified material. So if you have it in bulk, it's not a place where you could send loose foam. In some cases it is, but for the most part, they're buying truckload quantities of material. So you can access that from our recycled foam website as well. I'll talk more about the grants later, but before I do that, I'll pass it over to the folks from Mecklenburg County to speak to their experience working with foam over the last year or so.
All right, great. Thanks, Matt. So first we're going to hear from Martin Stanford. He's a registered professional engineer and construction project manager with Mecklenburg County Department of Land Use and Environmental Services Agency, Solid Waste Division. Martin, that's a mouthful. Martin has over 30 years of experience in the solid waste industry. Martin is currently responsible for supporting infrastructure and program development aspects of the county's comprehensive solid waste management system, which includes managing the planning, design, and construction of the solid waste infrastructure projects. And then Martin will hand it over to Nick Crawford. And Nick is a senior environmental program manager for Mecklenburg County, overseeing field operations for the Solid Waste Division. He has worked with the Mecklenburg County Solid Waste Division for over 10 years and has over 20 years experience in the industry. Nick graduated from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, where he started his recycling career as a work-study student and turned it into a career, first working with residential curbside collection, and now runs Mecklenburg County's drop-off locations and landfill operations. So with that, I will turn it over to Martin and Nick. Thank you both.
Thank you, Ashley. Sorry about the long name of our organization, but it took me a while to get used to it also. I'd like to say, hello to everyone on this webinar, and thank you for attending. Nick and I are excited about talking with you today about our foam recycling program. For those of you who may be unaware of where Mecklenburg County is located in the southwestern portion of North Carolina, and is home to Charlotte and 6 other towns. And we have approximately 1.1 million residents that live within the county, and those residents generate quite a bit of waste and recycling materials. And so the Solid Waste Division in fiscal year 2023 served 874,000 customers through our network of 4 drop-off centers, or what we call our full-service recycling centers. And then overall, the program managed 818,000 tons during fiscal year 23. We are fortunate to have county commissioners that are supportive of our efforts to provide cost-effective and sustainable environmental solutions. And as our county and community continues to grow, the Environmental Stewardship Committee challenged us to recycle more materials. And as a result, we, looking at the MRF and the limitations with the technology there, we realized that recycling more materials was going to mean that we needed to expand our opportunities at our drop-off centers for our residents. So we developed an enhanced recycling program that included textiles, books, and foam recycling. We are looking to add food scraps by the end of the year to this overall program. So with the decision to recycle foam made, we had to develop a framework for how we were going to collect and process the material. And we decided that we would repurpose existing 32-yard containers and place them at our 4 full-service recycling centers. And after that decision, we had to look at each site to sort of determine where the densification operation was going to take place, because we had to look at the operating space, the availability of power for the densifier, and the availability of staff needed to process the material. And at the end, we decided to place our primary densifier at our Hickory Grove site, which you can see in the picture to the right. And then, of course, as a local government, we had to figure out how to pay for it. And we used Solid Waste Division funds, and we, as this webinar is all about, we were fortunate enough to be able to get a grant from the Food Service Packaging Institute, and that was helpful in us paying for operational and infrastructure costs. So once we got the framework together, the next step was for us to market and inform and educate our residents about foam recycling. And so we came up with a creative way to market the program, and we developed and patented a Foamosaurus Rex logo, which you can see here put on the container to the right. We also use that logo in website and social media platforms. We also had print materials that we made available. But more importantly, word of mouth was sort of the big thing that drove the program. Word of mouth through our residents and then our staff at our sites, explaining to folks and informing folks about the program. So that was very beneficial for us. And then we also had a local national public radio station that did a story on the program. So we rolled out the program in November 2022, starting with collection only because we didn't have a densifier at that point in time. So we partnered with the University of North Carolina at Charlotte because they had a densifier and we utilized theirs. And then once we got our densifier, we were able to switch processing to the Hickory Grove site. We also purchased a second densifier to support program rollout across the entire county and also to ensure that we have redundancy and backup on the process. And that site in the picture to the right is located at our metal and tire facility. And we were surprised by the community response, which was positive. We got a lot of material came in and a lot of great feedback on the program. And the one benefit to residents is that our program doesn't have any additional cost for them to participate. And with that, I will pass it off to Nick to talk about the operations of the program.
Thank you, Martin. And thank you, Ashley, for the introduction there. I also work for our Land Use and Environmental Services Agency. It's LUISA is how we've shortened it, but nobody knows who LUISA is when we say that there. So just a little side bit. But so in developing our program, we needed to develop the containers that Martin mentioned and the collection system. And in refurbishing those containers, we decided painting them black was the best outlet for those. And then we painted the tops white, and all that work occurred at our Hickory Grove Full Service Drop-Off Center. And that's the same area at Hickory Grove that we turned into the processing area with the corral and carts you see in the bottom right picture. It's an older two-bay maintenance shop that we had outgrown and was being used primarily for storage. So we saw it as a better use for that space. We built a small interior corral to store the foam before processing in the densifier you can see in that same picture. To unload the containers, we developed a tarp and magnet system that was a bit unique, and we fine-tuned it and we're still using it today, and that's pictured in the top right on this slide. 2 to 4 staff, pardon me there, 2 to 4 staff can unload a dumpster in about 10 minutes simply by unhooking the tarp from the hooks on the magnets and dragging it into the shop corral. We decided to start with painting 5 of those containers, and while we started prepping the first five 32-yard dumpsters, we ran a very informal and simple pilot, and that was a Gaylord box with the words foam on it. We placed it close to our cardboard and single stream areas where we often were asked, where can I recycle this egg carton, foam cup, or packaging foam? And in just 5 days, that little small foam collection pilot had filled a 32-yard dumpster with some food service EPS and a lot of packaging EPS. At that point, we knew we needed to do at least 5 more containers, bringing us to a total of 10 containers. With the program's success, we are now at 15 containers total that we've refurbished and using system-wide. And we utilize those containers at the 4 full-service drop-off centers that Martin already talked about there. We also have 1 at an unstaffed drop-off location with one of our educational partner, the Innovation Barn. And of our 2 processing locations, Hickory Grove remains the primary with more storage space, and our second processing location just manages the material drop-off at our Compost Central full-service recycling center on the west side of town. In our first year, we processed about 10 containers per week on average. All this wouldn't have been possible without our partnership with the Center for Employment Opportunities. They employ people returning from prison or other challenging situations. Initially, when we started, we shared CEO with the other county departments and typically only had them 2 days a week. We've now moved to where CEO crew is 5 days a week, primarily for EPS processing and special projects. With the initial success of the program, we had to be creative and keep up with the material coming in. Now it takes about an hour for a crew to process 1 container worth of foam. In the pictures, you can see our team prepping another container. The other picture is of myself and our foam team after we had a safety training. We keep safety as a primary focus with all the moving containers and equipment. The program is growing rapidly, and we see some seasonal impact right after the holidays with all the packaging foam, what I've termed foam season. You can see in the graph the number of 32-yard containers processed in January and February of 2023 compared to 2024 in the same months. A total of 34 more containers in the same 2 months in 2024, and that's about roughly 1,000 more cubic yards this year already. So the program is growing. So far, we've had 2 shipments out of the densified EPS for a total of 71,000 pounds shipped out. Currently on site, I've got about 16,000 pounds of foam in storage. For our next shipment built up, we're aiming to get to 40,000 before we ship that out. We found that making the forms into bricks and building pallets of about 2,000 pounds is working well with our system. We have only heard positive feedback from Eco Development, which is turning the material into insulation. In the picture here, you can see we decorated for the holidays and used it on some of the social media posts to promote the program with the Foamosaurus Rex and the other promotions we've done. As many of you know, this foam was previously going into a county landfill. Unprocessed EPS takes up valuable space in our landfills and in our transportation system to get to the landfills. We estimate our airspace savings at about $765,000 annually from the foam recycling. And we consider our foam program to be a huge success in our enhanced recycling program and appreciate the opportunity today to talk about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick and Martin. And Louisa is definitely an easier, rolls off the tongue a little bit easier. So I will refer to your department as that from now on. So up next, we have Scott Jones. He serves as the executive director in Greensboro for the Tiny House Community Development, where he was instrumental in the development of one of North Carolina's first permanent tiny house communities to address the growing population of homelessness and create permanent, safe, affordable housing. In addition to creating tiny home communities, Tiny House Community Development started a workforce program, which is a 24-week program or 24+ week program that allows homeless friends a chance to obtain skills in carpentry, like building chicken coops and garden boxes. The workforce program also allows them a chance to operate their foam densifier to help give back to communities through recycling. So I will hand it over to you, Scott.
Hello, everyone. Appreciate being here and everyone attending. We're super excited. We just celebrated 3 years of our recycling coalition. Our recycling coalition is unique in that it's made up with environmental nonprofits around Guilford County, the Greensboro High Point area, which includes the city of Greensboro and the city of High Point waste management folks and recycling folks who participate monthly and quarterly in meetings where we discuss our progress, our operations, opportunities to expand the recycling program, the foam recycling program. We started at the onset of COVID during the pandemic, which was a really unique situation. And during that time, as most people know, when restaurants were closed and everything, there was all of this food packaging foam that was being created due to the pandemic. And we took advantage of that. We seen a great opportunity in getting a grant from Foam Packaging Institute, and one of our local nonprofits, Greensboro Beautiful, helped out with that grant. And we were able to purchase Miss Polly, which is our foam densifier. And she's been chewing up and spitting out foam for now over 3 years, or actually 3 years and 4 months. And this is, we collect, we're a community grassroots effort, and we have trailers sitting at various locations. We have 10 drop-off trailers. We have 11 drop-off sites. All are 24 hours with the exception of one site. But this trailer method really was a vision of Lou Torino. from Foam Cycle. He's the brain behind the trailer. I was hesitant, but the trailers work well. And we've got a box truck where we go out to companies and pick up larger amounts of foam as well. When we're picking up and switching trailers out, we have them located at city libraries, churches, throughout the community, host a trailer permanently, and we rotate those trailers once or twice a week. Typically, we purchase 6x12 used trailers. The sponsor for the trailer pays about 50%, and the other 50% actually came partially from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality grant and the Foam Packaging Institute grant. So we took that, and we basically got half sponsorships from local churches and groups, and the other half was paid through the grants. So what we do is create opportunities for volunteers. We have a lot of college kids, we have community service volunteers, and then we have our workforce, our job for individuals experiencing homelessness, where we try to maintain 2 to 3 individuals running styrofoam 3 days a week now, and they'll run about 6 to 8 hours a day, 3 days a week. And these guys otherwise would not have a job, and we've able to place them in supportive housing through our housing program and other housing programs. So it's really beneficial to them to be able to have a place to work without judgment, and then a place to live with support. And it's all because of the foam recycling program that we have in place. They do other things. They help us build tiny houses, chicken coops, garden boxes. We consider ourselves a very unique nonprofit. This is a video. It takes about 3 minutes.
Foam, or as it's more commonly known, styrofoam, is a petroleum-based product that is made to insulate, to protect items during shipping, and to keep our food hot or cold. Since foam is 98% air, it's very lightweight and super difficult to recycle. But every day, more than 1,000 tons of foam are buried in U.S. landfills. And plastic doesn't decompose. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces. Foam recycling has been a challenge in Greensboro for many years. And this year, 2020, a coalition of nonprofits came together. They applied for a grant, they raised funds from outside sources and private donations, and they purchased a foam densifier. A densifier is a machine that takes all of the air out of foam so that it can then be shipped and recycled into items like picture frames or molding for construction projects. The funding partners for this project are Emerging Ecology, Environmental Stewardship Greensboro, Greensboro Beautiful, and Tiny House Community Development. They wanted to do this so that residents and businesses in Greensboro could recycle foam rather than landfilling it. The city of Greensboro is so excited to share this new foam recycling drop-off location with everyone in Greensboro. If you'd like to recycle your foam, we encourage you to take it to Tiny Houses Community Development at 1310 West Gate City Boulevard. You can drop off your foam at the Big Blue Bins 24/7. If you've got more recycling questions, make sure that you download the GSO Collects app and use the Waste Wizard to find out what goes where.
So we partner with Greensboro. That was created by Tori Carroll in Greensboro City, and she does an awesome job. We get promoted through Greensboro City and High Point City quite often, and High Point and Greensboro Beautiful. So we're great and grateful to have partners in our coalition who care so much about the recycling that we do here. One of the things we found was, it's amazing to me how much people care about it, because our trailers, when we get them in, the foam from food containers is so clean, I swear you could almost eat off of it. That's how clean they are. People really care about recycling, and it's amazing. I can't believe it. And this is my dog Zeus. I have 3 Great Danes, but he goes out and switches out trailers with me from time to time. We do recycling rodeos in the community with Greensboro, Guilford County, and High Point. We also do a lot of presentations where we take Miss Polly, our foam densifier, out. We set her up and we run her and display her. She will be at the April conference for the North Carolina Recycling Conference in Cherokee. She will be up there displayed and running. And we're happy to do that now the second time we've done that. She's been traveling to Myrtle Beach with us to do a conference and now Cherokee. So we're really proud of North Carolina. You heard from Mecklenburg County, awesome job. Henderson, North Carolina, I've been up there and helped them with their machine. UNC Charlotte, the same thing. I've helped them with their machine. We have UNC Wilmington that also has a machine, but one of our main partners, High Point City, was able to receive a grant from Foam Packaging Institute, and they bought a Mr. Polly, the XT300 model, because they have so much foam that they create from the international furniture market that happens in High Point, North Carolina, twice a year. And I'm just so proud that High Point and Greensboro and Guilford County partner with us. But I'm really super proud that High Point actually is removing foam that was going twice a year from the furniture market into the landfills. Now it's being diverted and put into new product. And this is the most thing I'm most proud about. If you see this slide, 3 years, over 135,000 pounds of styrofoam has been recycled in Guilford County, North Carolina, with volunteers, and created housing and jobs for individuals experiencing homelessness. 135, we actually have probably 15,000 sitting on the yard right now. So we're getting close to another 30,000 pound shipment. But over 135,000 pounds of foam has been diverted from the landfill in Guilford County in 3 years. Real quickly, that slide there, because we have trailers, we found people bringing styrofoam in plastic bags tied up. They were bringing foam in cardboard boxes and depositing it in our trailers. We considered it as a contaminant originally, but now we're welcoming the cardboard and the loose plastic bags or plastic film because we've partnered with Trex, and we sell to a local paper buyer here that buys the cardboard and paper now. So we took it from a contaminant and turned it into a recyclable, and it's working out really well. And we're hoping, we've got 10 trailers, 11 sites, and we're looking at going to 25 trailers this year to increase the convenience for the community to recycle. We do work with Suprema is where our foam goes to. They are awesome. They buy all of our material from us. And what I like the most about it is they're turning it into things that we can use in our construction with our nonprofit, like foam insulation board. We're getting ready to do a live roof system on top of some of our houses and our container that we are actually operating our densifier in right now. So we went from an 8,000 square foot building recycling foam to a 20 by 8 container that we're recycling foam basically overnight. So anything is possible with recycling foam. There's a little outline of our timeline where we are. Just re-signed our MOU with our partners. We do like to have memorandum of understandings, basically a contract that says who's responsible for doing what, and it works really well with our sites where we have our trailers stored. And with that being said, thank you again. Thank you, Foam Packaging Institute, for providing grants to us and North Carolina.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Scott. You are doing amazing things down there. So up next, we have Lou Triano, from the founder and president of Foam Cycle. Foam Cycle is an early stage recycling company with a unique closed loop foam recycling system. Lou has worked in sales side of both the waste and the recycling industry for the past 23 years. Lou, take it away. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and hello to everybody on the video here today. I just want to follow up. I can't leave Scott hanging like this. I know building statues isn't a thing anymore, or carving people's faces in the mountains, but if anybody deserves it, it's Scott. What he's done to tiny houses, he was the spark in North Carolina. And I think Mecklenburg would attest to that. Before Mecklenburg, before the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, before High Point, before Fayette, I apologize, the other Hendersonville, it was Scott, and everybody looked at this guy and his nonprofit as basically the tail wagging the dog, right? Here's this little nonprofit where big municipalities and counties should be taking a lead on recycling. This church group got together, and it's a story that should be told in more detail later on. So I'll kick it off here with my quick video.
This is the future of recycling. FoamCycle is the first and patent-pending foam packaging collection, densifying, and recycling system. FoamCycle created a recycling solution to a problem that no one thought was possible. At the price of a pickup truck, adding a FoamCycle system to your municipal recycling drop-off center will help save our environment.
Okay, thanks for showing that. So real quick, let me address the elephant in the room. I've had that DeLorean for about 40 years now, coming up in October. My wife said I looked like Michael J. Fox when I bought it, and now I look like the professor. And I said to her, she looked like Farrah Fawcett when I first bought it, because we've been married over 40 years. And I said, you still look like Farrah Fawcett. So that's just a testimony to a good sales background, right? Okay, so what exactly is styrofoam? Styrofoam is not part of this project. It's a question that's always asked. This is a brand name, a trade name. It's owned by DuPont now. And because of its thickness, and also because it's got fire-resistant chemicals in it, because this material goes into someone's home, it's not part of this recycling program. Okay, next slide. So what's really truly amazing, and a credit to the FPI folks on this call, Melissa and Matt, and I'm sorry, Matt's from RRS and Melissa's RRS, and then I got Ashley and even well, everybody's the whole group. It's just amazing what these folks are doing and how supportive they are. FoamCycle has helped over 15 municipalities and nonprofits acquire the grant, talk about the grant, and once they receive it, get them the equipment. Over $750,000 in total that pass through FoamCycle and helping these programs. And everyone's unique. As you can see from Mecklenburg County, they've come up with some really creative stuff, and so has Scott at Tiny Houses. And I'm going to show you a few more as we go along with the slides. All right, so the two foam types that, and Matt alluded to this obviously earlier and talked about it, simply food service foam and packaging foam. Once again, I came from an industry, from the recycling industry, and I really stepped into this when I was helping a commercial customer, a big furniture company, who was throwing out their packaging foam, recycle their foam by acquiring a foam densifier. And at the time, this was about 15 years ago, it was a Recycled brand foam densifier. Recycled is the premier manufacturer, and I could say that because I've got a long history. So FoamCycle is a partner with them. It's an approved vendor of theirs, so I sell their equipment. And one of the concerns was always about food service foam and dropping it off. And like Scott said before, you could eat off it. That information I used back in the day came from Dart Container themselves, who has numerous recycling drop-off programs. They are a real steward of the environment for the products that they sell. If you understood all of that they put into it and try to do, and being part of the FPI, obviously they fund it, help fund it with other partners. But they had said to me years ago, you know, Lou, when people drop off food service foam, they put it in their car. And when they put it in their car, it comes clean to your drop-off center. You know, this is a drop-off program, you got to remember, right? This is not, you know, curbside collected stuff. Curbside collected stuff, everybody puts whatever they want in the lid of that container while it's in their garage, their bowling ball, and good luck. And they just, as long as they get it out of the house and they think it could be recycled, when you drop it off, it's guaranteed to be recycled because they're accepting it at drop-off centers and they have the proper equipment to recycle it. Christine Cassidy from Dart, thank you for that information years ago. That was instrumental in moving forward. So now we're talking about standalone densifiers like Mecklenburg put in one of their buildings, and a host of different organizations. And many of you on the call here today will say, gee, I have a building. All I need to do is put a densifier in. We can help you with that. This is a model XT300 that just came out by Recycled, really terrific machine. Can recycle both types of foam, food service and packaging. and it even gets into recycling different types of like flexible foams, which is a different type of plastic makeup. Scott has been experimenting with it at tiny houses. We're developing end markets to it. And so it's an exciting machine and a really well-made machine. These machines are made in South Korea. And I could, just tell you from experience, or I guess all of us can, when we look at the South Korean as a country, they don't have too many resources there. So everything has to be recycled in that country. And their equipment is built almost like when I was a kid in the 80s, 90s, we saw a Mercedes-Benz. We were like, wow, that's a Mercedes-Benz. German engineered stuff is equivalent, I think, in this day and age to Korean built equipment. It's just superior stuff. Okay, so here's a recent install at a nonprofit that I wanted to highlight, which is Goodwill Industries. Goodwill Industries runs a terrific program called GreenWorks out of Detroit. And GreenWorks employs numerous people that have life challenges from, chronically unemployed, and they just do a great job. They're big into metal recycling, and they reached out to me last year and helped them with a grant, and Matt's been very supportive, Todd, with them, and we put a system in, and now they're helping the city of Detroit. I mean, a great program. Once again, nonprofits sometimes leading the way here. This is also another one. And you know what, it's not a one shoe fits everyone. As I mentioned before, each program is unique. And here's another unique program. Hilltopper Recycling, work with those folks for a while. Great company, young people operating this company. It's a recycling and waste company in the La Crosse County, Wisconsin area. And they partnered with their local county, with La Crosse County, and said, how about if we get a densifier, we put it in here, I'll collect it with my trucks, and we'll go, to the north, and you go to the south on drop off. And it's a great public-private partnership. So if you're looking for public-private partnerships, especially if any waste companies or recycling companies are out there, you can talk to your county and they'd be willing partners. I don't think the county would have done it without Hilltopper, and Hilltopper certainly couldn't have done it without the county. But that machine that you're looking at sits at the La Crosse County landfill, and that drop-off center is really robust. That picture I took of that gentleman dropping his foam off from that TV set as we were setting up the system. It's just an impactful program. And I think anybody on this call that wants to go ahead with a program, they're going to be really excited. People are excited about it. Okay, so now you don't have a building, as most drop-off centers really don't. I actually created the system back in 2016 and tested it at a Sussex County, New Jersey landfill. I was calling on this particular landfill for recyclable materials, and the woman who was in charge of the recycling for the county, who's now a friend and partner in this, you'll see a picture of her coming up soon. She retired. She came full board here in helping get these systems set up. We did a lot of work here. We put the county said, hey, gee, you want to put it in, you try it. And that's what we did. This system won a Swanner Award that year, a National Swanner Award, and continues to operate at Sussex County and be a leader in New Jersey for what foam packaging should look like and do. And there's no grants. These folks in New Jersey have to buy the systems themselves. And we have up to 9 now. There's 9 locations in New Jersey that are recycling foam packaging waste. So the container system, it's a patented system. Once again, you call up and it's kind of like a plug and play. It gets delivered to your outside drop-off center and plug it in and you're up and going. So here's a few examples of what they look like. All right, here's one that's really interesting, is in Cook County, Illinois. Last year, Cook County in Illinois had funded a drop-off recycling system or center at South Suburban College. So this is a county and a college working together to place a drop-off center on their grounds. Funded by FPI. It's really a leader. Cook County's got 5 million residents, second largest county in the United States, allows anyone in the county to drop off their foam along with other recyclable materials. And more importantly, it sits at the South Suburban College site. And most colleges have a lot of land to it. So this kind of works nice. And they also have the kids inside the school learning about sustainability. So all they got to do is step outside, go over to the center and work it a little bit. So it's really a great program that got a lot of headline news in that area. And this is probably one of my favorite working folks over in Guilford, New Hampshire, a small little town, 7,000 people. But they have the will like Scott of tiny houses. In that picture is Megan and Cindy. Cindy started a plastics recycling group. Megan is the DPW superintendent in Guilford, and they put in for a grant. And they said, FPI, listen, if you give us this money to help us buy this system, we are going to invite everyone around from all of these surrounding towns to bring their foam. And that's exactly what's going on. It's probably the biggest hub and spoke, they call it. They're the hub, and the spokes tender out into multiple towns with the help of the Rotary. Multiple towns in the New Hampshire area are doing foam collection day events, food service foam, packaging foam. It goes back to Guilford, and it's just a wonderful and exciting program. But I tell you what, all these programs I'm talking about all come down to the people that want to do it and people that have, desire to do it. Collier County, Florida, one of the earliest systems that went in, 600,000 people in that county, one system, one densifier. They have it at the drop-off county. Collier County is Naples, Florida. They have a 78% recycling rate in that county. Unbelievable, 78%. When I think if we look at the state of Michigan, they're at 33 or 35. Colorado's at 20%. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. And they also won a state award for this recycling program they put together. Outagamie, Wisconsin, they call that their foam dome. They did some videos on it. Great people. That actually came from Atlas Molded Products, which is based out there. They actually recommended and put us all together. Atlas being one of the larger packaging companies, foam packaging manufacturing companies in the U.S. Little feedback from the folks at Outagamie County, just saying how the residents love the program and how much it's the increase in amount of materials coming in, even from folks that are driving from other counties just to drop it off there. The system, very quickly, that's what it looks like, how it's delivered. Inside, you get the foam densifier, you get one collection bin outside that you take this bag out of, and those collection bins are made in North Carolina. They're great for hub and spoke programs, hospitals, for outreach. Guilford bought about 10 of them to put in surrounding towns. So great program. Before and after, real quick, that's Rini, who works with me to your left at Sussex County, showing the 30 or 40 pounds before to your right and after it's densified, what it looks like. And then we filled up a whole trailer, 125-yard walk-in floor trailer of loose foam, densified it into 3 pallets. So you can imagine the trucking savings. But we also had a green team from a local college spend the summer out there, and we did a landfill analysis that's available if anybody wants to see it. And that shows exactly how the impact is on a landfill when you're removing foam. And that's it. And here's my guy who just got introduced, called Buster Foam, available for new programs. Buster is a little bit of a hit right now. He's a dancing character, but once again, just like Mecklenburg County with his dinosaur, I really love to see these two guys tussle it up a little bit. But Buster's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll see him at one of you folks' neighborhood soon. All right, thanks for your time.
All right, thanks, Lou. Appreciate that. Hopefully, you guys got a good flavor for sort of operational considerations as well as some of the equipment that's available out there. Just real on our actual grant program. So like we said, the funding source, this funding comes from the Foam Recycling Coalition, those member contributions, those funding partners that you saw in the early part of the webinar. The maximum grant amount, $50,000 awarded. You can request any amount up to that. And our funding is based on a case-by-case basis. So, provide the application and we review and award accordingly based on the funding that we've got available. There is no cash match required, but typically, the densifier, depending on the type you get, could eat up most of that money. So if you need additional setup costs, electrical, site prep, that sort of thing, that'll be additional funds that you just need to spend to make the project work. So as far as eligibility for our grant round, public and private entities. So you don't have to be a county program. You can be a nonprofit. You can be a private recycler. Anybody that provides recycling services, whether you're operating a MRF, managing some type of curbside recycling program, managing some type of drop-off program. In the private sector, if you are going to start, accepting foam, we want to provide access for residents. So we want it to be in a place where residents, if they go to drop off material, it's relatively easy for them to find and get to and have that drop-off experience. Generally we want you to obviously be able to access post-consumer foam polystyrene. So that includes food service packaging. We are the Food Service Packaging Institute, so that needs to be a part of the program. And when we're talking about food service packaging, it's just the things that cups, containers, meat trays, egg cartons, those sorts of things. But then it can also include the pack or the transport foam. Well, with the grants, we like to, once you get awarded a grant, we like to have the program in place in 6 months. Sometimes it goes longer, but we can be flexible with that. But generally, we want you to have your plan in place and be ready to move on in instituting your program instead of just thinking about it once you get awarded grant funds. The grant contract that we put in place between FPI and you is for 3 years. So we want you to commit to running your program for 3 years. Typically, folks continue that. Of our 34 grants we've awarded, we've only had one that is no longer running their program. So here's where you can go find the grant application. So recyclefoam.org/grants. That is the site, and you can have access. You can download the PDF form. So this is a PDF form. You should be able to go in there and just fill out the form. It's about 3 pages long, and each of the sections expand as you type into it. And what I'd like you to do is just save that form as a PDF document and email it to the email address you see here, recyclefoam@fpi.org, and send that back to me once you're done. Essentially what I'm doing is that form is feeding a spreadsheet that we can catalog everything really easily. So if I get that and it looks good, you might not hear from me. But if there's something wrong with it as far as my accessibility, I might reach out to you just to try and get you to resend that to me. As far as grants that rate highly, grant applications that rate highly, we're looking for access. So as an organization, we want to get as many folks recycling foam as we can. So we look to that sort of 50,000 household level. That's not to say that, we wouldn't fund things that are under that. I've seen some comments in the chat today about partnering. So if you're a smaller county and you'd like to do this, absolutely look at your partners. The one that Lou mentioned up in New Hampshire, they provide, Guilford, New Hampshire, they are basically a hub for all their surrounding counties, whereas they don't have very many households. The total counties that have access to that program make that possible. So really, we want to understand your market. So you need to do some research on that before you make the application. So understand where you're going to move this material, and then just have that project plan laid out. One of the things I want to encourage folks to think about is the labor piece to this. So if you're doing a drop-off program and you have to feed a densifier, you need a person to do that. So just think about the time and effort that might take and the staffing that you might have available. And then obviously think about the whole budget, not just the equipment, but what it would take to run the program, get the site set up and get everything ready to go. And as you saw for some of these folks, they've got some great marketing programs going on. So, you're going to market this, you're going to do some really good work to promote your program. And this is just some examples of our past grantees. So we've been doing this since 2015. Actually, our first grantee was from a MRF. It was the old Alpine MRF. I think it's now run by Republic out in Denver, Colorado. But they had a densifier coming straight off of their sort line at the MRF. And then, but most of our grants that we've done since then have been drop-off programs, whether they're county run, nonprofit run, or private recycler run. And it runs the gamut all over the country. And you can see we've sort of accelerated grant making over the years. So we're up to 34 grants that have been awarded since 2015. And as you heard, over $1.5 million in grant funding. So thank you all. I think we have a couple minutes for some questions, maybe 1 minute. I'll turn it back over to Ashley.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Yep. I've been trying to quickly answer some questions in the Q&A while you were chatting, but maybe just really quickly, if all of you wouldn't mind, just really talking about the foam densification drop-off process and how you guys manage it. Maybe what about the foam? Does it need to be protected from weather? How do you guys deal with food contamination? Do you see a lot of food contamination? How are you all dealing with that?
I can speak a little bit to the food contamination. We at our drop-off centers, at our full service ones, they're staffed. We have staff that are kind of working with, and because we're taking the packaging foam and the food service together, staff's able to kind of intercept it at that point, communicating with the customers, getting to clean it up. Our unstaffed one at the Innovation Barn, we do get a little bit in that, but staff's able to clean it up when we pull it out and process it. And also we're, educating on our website and other areas there.
Yeah, and we definitely set up the containers so that the foam materials would stay dry as they're being collected. And it'd be a lot more difficult to run it through the densifier if it was all wet after a rain event. And then the densified foam, our pictures showed it, in storage, but it can be stored outside under some plastic wrapping because you need to protect it against UV degradation. But probably don't keep it outside for more than 2 weeks at a time, but we have ours stored under cover. So in terms of weather impacts.
Great. And then maybe just one final question since we are at time, and thank you for everybody for hanging on. What about economics? How does this work out for you guys? Money wise, is it a money maker? Is it a loss maker? You guys do it as a service to, your residents? And then also maybe talk about the end markets a little bit as well, who you're selling this material to.
So I don't see it as a money maker. I see it more as providing a service to our community and the people who want to recycle. If I was getting into it for profit, I can't see doing that. Thanks to the grants, the return is greater than the money you make from it. It's seeing the people that are so happy with being able to recycle. So we're really pleased with it.
Yeah, from the local government side of things, it's not a money maker for us either. As Nick alluded to it at the end of his presentation, it's part of it is the landfill savings, the airspace saved as a result of diverting it, direction from our elected officials for us to recycle more, the enthusiasm from the residents as a service we provide. So, those are all sort of the reasons that we got into it, and it's been successful for us. But yeah, it's definitely not a money maker. I'm not sure there's very many things in the recycling industry that are quote unquote money makers.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you for that. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions, I saw there was a lot in the chat and I'm sorry we couldn't get to them all. Feel free to reach out, via email, recyclefoam@fpi.org. Don't forget that deadline for that grant application is April 22nd. And we thank you all for joining.